Breaking news in Hartford. Part of Capitol Avenue was closed after a car crash involving police. Fox 61's Gabby Molina is on the scene with everything we need to know. Actually, she's at the police station right now. Gabby, what are some of the updates you're getting right now?
Capitol Avenue is back open after that crash that police say happened after a shots fired incident overnight. Now, the road was closed for several hours, but it is back open this morning. Now, this is what we know so far about what happened. Police say that they were investigating a shots fired incident on Capitol Avenue between Sisson Avenue and Forest Street, not far from the UHaul facility on that road. And the video that we have shows the cars that were involved in the crash were very badly damaged. Police say 2 people were taken into custody and a gun was found. Now, at this point, we don't know if anyone was hurt, but we do know that Hartford police were involved in the crash. Now, we are expecting to learn a little bit more about what happened from Hartford police this morning, so as soon as we get those updates, we'll be sure to pass them along to you. Live in Hartford, Gabby Molina, Fox 61 News.